Today we're going to focus on radical relationships. And for myself, when I started redefining the relationships that I had in my life, a lot of things really started to shift for me. And I could see things differently, I could approach things differently, I could become more aware of how I was responding to situations. And again, it was just another level of getting out of that autopilot and into making conscious decisions about how I was going to interact with people. But I also take it a step further because it wasn't just my relationship with other people, it was also my relationship with my environment, with the things that were appearing around me, my relationship with myself. I think a lot about the sayings, how people say, what makes the world go round, and some people say money makes the world go round, and some people say love makes the world go round, and I say it's our relationship with money that makes our world go round. It's our relationship with love that makes our world go round. It's our relationship with people that gets us everything that we want in life. And it's also, for myself anyway, my relationship with people that was causing a lot of my suffering. Because I had certain expectations around what people were supposed to be like, what they were supposed to behave like, how they were supposed to treat me, how our interactions should be with one another. I had, in my mind, different stories and structures and expectations. And when people didn't live up to these expectations, I would be sad. I would feel hurt. I would feel disappointed. I would feel let down. So I started becoming aware of why is it that this action or what somebody has said or what somebody has chosen to do, why is it affecting me so much? What is it really teaching me and what is it really showing me? So one of the first things that I started doing was removing the labels. I took off the labels and got person to person. So I removed the label of husband. I removed the label of daughter. I removed the label of client, of any label that I put on it. What a sister should be like, what a mom should be like, what a dad should be like, what a friend should be like, what a coworker should be like, all those little labels that I put on there. And how I even realized this was I realized that I was a little bit different depending on who I was dealing with. There were certain vulnerabilities that I didn't let show when I was dealing with my clients because I'm supposed to be this professional businesswoman. There were certain topics that I didn't bring up and discuss when I was in conversation with my parents because there were certain things I told myself that you don't talk about with mom and dad, or you don't talk about because it's going to make my sister upset or respond negatively. There's a certain things that I should or have to need to do because I am a wife. And what I realized was that when I started peeling away all these labels and I would just focus connecting human to human, heart to heart with whoever it was in front of me, it made my life a lot simpler and a lot more fulfilling because I no longer had this set of rules that I had to follow, and I also freed the other person from the set of rules that I made up for them. So the same way that I had certain rules, like this is what a daughter's like, and this is what a sister's like, and this is what a business owner's like, and this is what a girlfriend is like. When with me having all of those, I also had a set of stories for myself, set of rules that I made up that I decided that I had to follow to fulfill those roles. And then I also had a set of rules for the other person that I was dealing with. So I would show up one way, being how I thought a wife should be, and then I had an unspoken set of expectations of what a husband should be and what a father should be. And I was unknowingly, unconsciously holding people to expectations that they never agreed to follow. They never agreed to follow them. I never sat down with my mom and said, okay, mom, since you're the mom, these are the roles that you're going to play, and since I'm the daughter, these are the ones that I'm going to play. Okay, you sign here, and I sign here, and now we're in a contract with one another. That never happened. But every time that it wasn't lived up to that expectation, I was disappointed. I was let down. I was resentful. And while a lot of those emotions weren't really on the surface level, where I was really aware of what was going on, I just blamed the other person. I didn't realize that I was holding them to expectations that they never agreed to or agreements that they never made. When I started becoming aware of this, I kind of realized, oh, that's kind of silly, in the sense that nobody can get inside my head and know these little unspoken stories that I have made up. And on the same turn, if I have these stories in my head, I'm pretty sure other people have them too. I'm pretty sure that that's why my husband gets disappointed in me, is that he thinks I should behave or act or be a certain way, and I'm not aware of it. So for him, for myself, whenever I have these stories, to me, they're my common sense. Well, naturally, common sense says that a daughter should be this way, or a mom should be kind and loving, and a father should be always there and a protector and taking care of the household. Whatever these stories were, I realized the only reason that I had these stories was because of my life experiences. And since nobody else had my life experience, nobody else has been in my shoes and been through every single moment of my life, it's impossible for them to know my stories. And since I can't step inside somebody else's life and go through their life experiences, then I can't know their stories either. And then when I realized that I was just like, there was parts of me that wasn't showing up whenever my parents showed up. And they were like really, really good parts of me. There were parts of me that like really got me excited and that I was really happy about. But for some reason, I didn't let that side show. I started stripping away all those labels. And this is a discipline. This is a total reconditioning of how I am and how I am behaving and why I'm making the choices that I make. But it was just going in those, following like how we've talked in previous sessions about becoming more aware of myself and why I was making the choices that I was making. And when I took away those labels and I could just connect heart to heart, and I can just, it just allowed a whole new level, a whole new dynamics to take place in my relationships. And it's still something, again, that I'm striving to have 100%, 360 degrees, have that be how I am naturally around people. And sometimes when I find myself, now I find that if I have like a little something that comes up, like if I have an inclination to offer a suggestion or to say something and I feel myself holding it back, I'll take a look at that and say, why am I feeling like I can't say that right now? So now I just strive to have truth, to be honest, tell the truth all the time with compassion, no matter who I'm dealing with. And if I can come from that heart space and I can remove those labels and the guidelines and the stories and all that stuff that I've made up to go around with it, if I could just come from that heart space and speak my truth with compassion, I find that everything kind of shifts. And not only does it shift within me, but a whole new level of permission opens up in the relationship. And it allows me to get really, really real and authentic. And it allows me to stand on a new level of truth, which is very freeing. And it also gives the other person the permission to do the same. Not everybody's ready for this kind of relationship. And I had to accept that as well. Just because I was ready to show up one way doesn't mean that the other person's ready to show up that way as well. But it's a great opportunity for me to just focus on being that which I want to receive and also accepting others. And it allowed me to not be resentful towards them or I'm right, you're wrong, or anything like that when they chose not to participate the same way that I was. It was just a new level of acceptance, and it was a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for me to, again, just practice being. Not default back to safety zones because the other person's in their safety zone, but to be the example, to be the one who showed up, to be the one who said, no matter how unkind you're being to me right now, for whichever way that I'm not living up to the unspoken stories that you have in your mind, I'm still going to be kind to you. I'm still going to be how I want you to be in return, no matter how you choose to treat me. And I find a lot of times it diffuses the situation. If there is a level of resentment or fear or anything that's unkind showing up, it doesn't have room to stand. It doesn't have room to grow because I'm not feeding it with the same emotion back. You can throw it at me. I'm not going to take it because I don't feel that I am deserving of it. And I don't feel that it really has anything to do with me. It has more to do with where the other person is. So I let it come out, allow the other person, because I want to be fully accepted. I don't want to just be accepted whenever I'm behaving a certain way. So I don't allow myself to only accept other people when they behave a certain way. So it allows me to just let the situation be and love people unconditionally. And even if I have to walk away from the situation with that kind of funky vibe still hanging in the air, when I re-enter the situation, it's weaker and weaker until finally the other person stops throwing it at me because they see no matter what they throw at me, they're always going to be accepted. And I think a lot of people haven't had that in their life. I know that I haven't always had that in my life, or I have not been aware of it always being present in my life. So for me, it's a beautiful opportunity to not only take myself to another level, or the level of being that I want to be at, the level of vibration and the level of awareness that I want to be at, but it also helps to facilitate the space for the other person to learn, oh, it's okay to do this. This is a new example that's being set for people. And it allows them the opportunity to decide if they want to live that way as well. Yeah.
Does that not put that person in control of the situation if no matter, I mean, if they're behaving badly and you keep accepting it, saying that that's indicating that that's okay, is that,
Good point.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, I understand fully what you're saying. And there was a little bit of a struggle that I had with this when I first started practicing it, because I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm being nice. You need to be nice back to me. And what I found was that there's a difference between accepting the situation for how it is and validating the situation, making it okay. To me, there's never an excuse or a reason to be unkind to somebody. There's never a justification that's acceptable for me to have someone be outside of my heart. So it was a very unique discipline because I realized it was just my personality, my ego, this person who I thought that I had to be, that wanted to be right. I want you to play the game the way that I'm playing the game because that makes the way that I'm playing the game right. And if I'm right, I'm more likely to survive. And I had to learn that there was a difference. Allowing someone to be in their process and where they're at is not saying that it's okay. It's not saying that that's acceptable, just poo-poo all over me and I'll deal with whatever you throw at me. It was an opportunity for me to speak up and say, how you're speaking to me right now, I don't think that I'm really deserving of it. And so I'm not going to stand here and allow you to poo-poo all over me because I am not doing that to you, and I don't like it when it's done to me, and I'd appreciate you not doing that. However, if you feel that's what you need to do right now, I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. It's kind of like arguing with somebody who won't argue back. It takes two to have an argument. And if one person refuses to argue, the other person is left arguing with themselves. And it usually doesn't go too far. And I had to, and it's still a discipline, it's still a struggle, because I don't ever want to be spoken to unkindly, especially by the people that I love. And I don't want my behaviors to dictate when you're going to give me love and also allow you the opportunity to take love away from me. I'm looking for 100% all unconditional, all-encompassing, all-accepting love. And if I'm looking to receive that, I have to give it. I have to give it. So instead of, this is what kind of shifted things for me in that type of situation, I had to realize their anger, their whatever it is that they're upset about, whatever it is that's making them feel totally justified and valid for dumping on me, it really has nothing to do with me. It wasn't my stuff. It's their stuff. Especially if I'm really focused on just being kind and being accepting. When I stopped taking it personal, no matter if they're saying you, when I realized that had nothing to do with me, because it really doesn't. When I realized that had nothing to do with me, and I stopped taking it personal, it allowed me to go to a place of compassion. Because there's a beautiful saying that I picked up a few weeks ago, and it's hurt people hurt people. So the only reason that someone would lash out and be unkind and hurt someone else is if they're hurting on the inside. And when I realized, if we go back like a few workshops, we go back to like the Radical Love workshop that I did, and that I really, really believe that love is the only truth. So the only time that I'm truly dealing with another person, like their true self, it's when they're being kind and when they're being in love. So anything that's not love isn't really them. It's the ego, it's the survival self, it's the personality, it's them being defensive. When I realized that was just kind of like the same thing that I feel that anxiety, that anxiousness, when I feel that creep up inside of me, I use it as a clue to make a different choice, as an indication that I'm kind of off path. When I see it in somebody else, I realize, oh, wait a minute. I'm not dealing with my husband, the man that I'm unconditionally in love with. I'm not dealing with my mom, the wonderful, amazing person that she is. I'm not dealing with my friend who I know is just a spectacular person. I'm dealing with a false self, a mask, a persona, a personality, an ego, a defense, a survival self. So since all of that's in my thinking of love is the only truth, anything else is just an illusion, then why am I going to buy into their illusion? You can buy into it all you want, because you can suffer all that you want, because that's your choice. But for me, when I stopped buying into that illusion, when I realized there's nothing to defend myself against because I'm not really threatened, I'm not really in a survival situation, then it allowed me to stop taking it so serious, stop taking it so personal. And again, when I stopped feeding that energy, it diffuses on its own. Every single time this has happened for me so far. I mean, and sometimes I have to leave the other person really, really angry and mad and frustrated, and I have to say to them, I am only responsible for my emotions. I can't be responsible for yours as well. And if I have done something that fed into it, because this is a new discipline for me. It's my reaction to be defensive back. It's my reaction to give back exactly what they just gave to me. And there's a part of it that's like, well, he did it to me first, or she did it to me first. She started it. I was peachy keen. I was totally happy. I was skipping through the flowers, and then they showed up and they started being all nasty. So that's what they're going to get in return for me. When I could stop that cycle and I could take full responsibility for my own emotions and realize the only reason that I'm upset is because I'm choosing to be upset. I'm allowing the situation to upset me. Then I can say, I'm only responsible for my emotions. I'm not responsible for yours. I'm choosing in this moment to let this go and to go be happy. And if you choose not to, I will accept that. So you can stay here and keep being miserable. I'm going to be in the other room being happy. And if you want to join me, you're more than welcome. Now, a lot of times, the person that I'm speaking with doesn't really like to hear that. And it just kind of elevates their frustration level because they're trying to control the situation. That's all it is. It's like dealing with a 2-year-old child. It's like throwing a temper tantrum, trying to get your way, trying to manipulate situation, trying to control, trying to ensure your survival. And when I could take away all the outer layers of what that looks like and all the conditioning of how that is, and to get to the truth of it, then I could just let it be, let them be. And sometimes, even though, like I said, it's still hanging in the air, I wasn't taking it with me into the other room. I could leave it there because it wasn't for me. And 99.9% of the time, when I would re-enter that situation, it's all kind of settled. Because it gives people just kind of that time. I call it burning through the ego. Burning through the ego. Just taking that time to process. Just feel all that emotion, all that rage, all that injustice, all that negative emotion, giving it time to burn up. Turn it all through my mind, walk through all my little philosophies to where I can get back to that peace. I can get back to that love. I can get back to that truth. So I know sometimes I need some time to burn through the ego, and I know other people need that time too. And a lot of times after they can sit and stew and reflect and turn it around, at the end of it, they're going to say to themselves, all that she said was that she loves me and she accepts me and that she's going to be kind regardless. So how can I continue to give that? And if they choose to, they choose to. But a lot of times it's kind of like, again, kind of like having a one-way argument. If the other person's not fighting back, there's not going to be a fight. So it happens a lot, actually, that it's kind of like, okay, well, where's that line? Where's that line between somebody disrespecting me or treating me unnecessarily unfair? Like, where is it become like like being a martyr? And where is it? How do I keep that line? And a lot of times these situations for myself get presented because I'm not setting boundaries. Because I'm not clearly stating, this is how I deserve to be treated. This is what is okay and this is what is not okay. And I had to get real with myself because there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with that I thought that I could deal with long term that I really couldn't. And it was a beautiful opportunity for me to get more truthful and more honest with myself. Has that kind of helped?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get into a couple more things as we work through this material today that's going to help, or at least they were tools that help me to know when to just walk away and how I could kind of shift those gears from dishing it right back out, like little triggers in my mind that allowed me to remember to make a different choice in the moment instead of to perpetuate the situation.
Yeah, that clarifies it because it's not, I was getting the impression you were saying just lie down and, total acceptance of whatever that person's doing, but no, we need to set boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And